So here's a little tribute to George at the 69 Masters. This one, is a little close to my heart, knowing Mo Norman. And I remember Mo telling me one time about we were talking about George, and he's like, "Oh, George, 69 out of 72 greens at the 69 Masters. No one's ever done that before." Now, I don't know if anyone's ever done that before, but I think if someone had hit 72 out of 72 greens, we'd probably know about that, or 70 or 71. The only reason that I knew about this is because Mo Norman, who was just a huge, fan and contemporary of George Knudsen's, was just gushing about George hitting 69 out of 72 greens. So I didn't know a lot about George at the time when I was on the tour, but, in hindsight and studying George's golf swing and really becoming a big admirer of his action, and it was pretty much understood that George was one of the greatest ball strikers of all time, and anyone that's going around Augusta hitting 69 out of 72 greens. So there's not much footage of the 69 Masters, but here's a little bit that I got. Apparently they didn't like George very much, really didn't cover him. They kept cutting to Tom Weiskopf or Billy Casper, and even in the middle of George about to hit a shot, and they just cut away. We only have a couple of shots, but this is kind of a forensic thing I've sort of put together to see exactly what we have, and we have them on 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, hitting every fairway, every green, knocking it at the pin, and just playing really great strategic golf. So first we're going to get George's comments from Butler Cabin after the round, as he's the runner-up, and he's in the Butler Cabin with Tom Weiskopf, Billy Casper, and George Archer.
Yeah. George, you gave it a pretty good run at this tournament. Was there anything out there, any shot maybe you'd like to replay in the last few holes this afternoon?
Well, really, no, I think I was fortunate to come as close as I did. I made a uphill putt at 15 and 16, and those were the only two that I made going uphill all week, so they were a bit of a surprise to me. But as I say, I feel fortunate to come on the way I did. It's not the type of thing, to birdie a couple of holes coming home is a little unusual for me. I would like to congratulate George. He played good, steady golf all day. I had my eye on the scoreboard, and he didn't fluctuate too much.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you and have you play so well, and we'll look forward to having you back next year.
Thank you, sir.
George Knudson of Canada, Charles Coody's playing companion. Just about a 20-foot putt.
So we don't get to see George's approach shot here, but we can see that he's positioned right of the hole just perfectly, has an uphill putt. He leaves this putt 2 feet short. I mean, it's just really not a good putt. And as he mentioned in the Butler Cabin, how he only made 2 uphill putts the whole week, and this certainly was not one of them. But just, very, very frustrating to be that good a ball striker and really struggle on the greens like George did. I can really empathize with him about that. George stands over this little 2-footer for, seems like an eternity, 15 or 20 seconds. It's just, frightening, actually, to see it, but he makes it.
And so at this moment in the fourth and final round of the 1969 Masters Tournament, the leader at 8 under par is George Archer.
Charles Coody is about to hit his second shot. Knudson was away, and Knudson is on in 2.
So they show Coody's shot, but we don't get to see George hit his shot into 15 with a long iron or maybe a fairway wood. Knocks it on the green, and then we can see here he's got probably a 10 or 12 foot putt, so he must have just hit an absolutely god-awful putt, knocking it that far by the hole. I assume he hit it by the hole. He was on the green in 2.
Now out to 15. George Knudson for a birdie 4. Billy Casper for a birdie 3. George Knudson gets his birdie and moves to 5 under par.
So here we got George Knudson on the 16th tee. He's probably hitting a 5 iron here, maybe a 4 iron. And he's going to try and position this a little bit right of the pin and below the hole. And that's exactly what he does here. He just hits a perfect shot right in there to leave himself an uphill putt for birdie. And for someone that doesn't putt very well, he's going to make the putt and make birdie here. And it's pretty exciting. It must have been really exciting for George at this time.
On the 16th tee, George Knudson, Canada, 5 under.
Boy, the sound of that strike.
Ruled on the flag, a little bit short. He'll go down with one club more. That's George Knudson of Canada, 5 under. 16. Now on 16, there's George Knudson putting up from at least 30 feet. 5 under par. And now 6 under. 6 under for Knudson. And that could conceivably be a historic and winning shot.
He is going to be far to the right and misses the green entirely and rolls down the embankment.
So this is just unbelievable here that they don't show George hitting his tee shot on 17. But if you look closely here up in the right corner, you can see George down the left side of the fairway there. And I'll guarantee you he put it there because that's where he wanted to be. And when you see where his ball is on the green, they don't show his drive or his iron shot. They show Cootie missing the green to the right, but they don't show George's drive or iron shot. I mean, the TV coverage here is just absolutely atrocious. Here you got a guy, a shot off the lead in the Masters, and they're not even showing his drives or approach shots. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. But you're going to see where his ball is on the green, and it is right in line with where George is over there on the left side of the fairway. So he just had this thing all over the pin and leaves it right below the hole, just hits an absolutely perfect shot. And then we get to see him putt, and then they cut away, and we don't even get to see the putt, and then we just see him at his final putt.
Now you can see the shot that Cootie will play. Knudson has a long...
Okay, George is looking at the cup. He's not looking for a little gold coin or anything in there, but back in 1969, Augusta was Bermuda greens, and for the guys in the South would know this, but a lot of times players would look at the cup and they could see how the grass was cut, and you've got a frayed edge and you've got a clean edge. So the clean edge would be where the hole cutter cut down grain, and the frayed edge would be the part that was up grain. So he's looking at
35
that.
feet. Coming for the most part uphill as his pin is cut in near the top of a ridge. If he would make this putt, we would have a 4-way tie for the 1969 Masters.
This is just unbelievable that they cut away from George's birdie putt to tie for the lead, and they cut over to Tom Weiskopf back on the 16th, and then they cut back to George, finishing with his 2-foot putt.
Knudson, meanwhile, missed that birdie attempt, left it just a couple of feet short. He'll have this short putt now for his par 4. If he makes it, he stays one shot off the lead. Masters Tournament. The leaders, George Archer and Tom Weiskopf at 7 under par.
Okay, so we have George on the 18th, and we're finally going to get to see George hit a driver. This is the first time in the TV coverage he's a shot off the lead in the Masters. It's the first time we're going to get to see him swing a driver. Of course, he absolutely just flushes this thing, hits it just down the right center of the fairway, absolutely perfect, setting himself up for another perfect angle into the pin. 69 of 72 greens, just incredible stuff, incredible.
The tee shot of George Knudson at 18. And from the reaction of the crowd, it must have been a good one. Right in the middle, just between the woods and the fairway bunkers, right where he would like to put it.
Let's go to 18.
Knudson's second shot to 18.
So I think George just misses this shot a little bit to the right, but it hits the knoll on the right and kicks onto the green for his 69th green out of 72 greens. Cootie's way over to the left somewhere. I mean, Knudson's just hitting it flush every shot. These guys, Weiskopf, all these guys are just hitting it all over the place. Must have just been so frustrating for him to just be such a master striker and be struggling on the greens like this. The Archer's playing behind him, so anything can happen. So I'm thinking George is just going to try and post par here, 6 under, and then just see what happens. And so the safe play would be just right of the pin, give yourself a shot. Like I say, misses it just a little bit to the right of where I think he was aiming, but not too much, catches a knoll, kicks down onto the green, and leaves himself a putt to tie for the Masters. So, you know, the worst putter on the tour given a shot at to tie for the Masters. But this is just, tee to green, just an absolute clinic like usual. People have seen the Shells matches. I mean, this guy just does not miss golf shots very often.
Knudson, too, just one shot. Knudson is on the putting surface and rolling back, where he will have some 25, 28 feet. But his playing partner, George Knudson, who is also 6 under par, has about a 25-foot putt. And should he knock it in, he could go into a tie for the lead with George Archer, who is playing just behind him. Kerry Middlecoff, how should this putt behave?
Well, Pat, it's sort of a double breaking putt. It'll go up the hill and break one way and back the other, and it's not the kind that you'd want to bet your life on, but at least it's a chance, and that's pretty good.
There have been 4 birdies here. And so George Knudson completes his round with a fine 6 under par. 6 under for the tournament, 2 under today.
So there's our little tribute to George Knudson at the 69 Masters, possibly the greatest tee to green exhibition of ball striking in Masters history, although we only got to see a little bit of the last few holes. And the television coverage was just absolutely atrocious, but with the little forensics, we can kind of see what was going on. He was in perfect position on 14, hit the green in 2 on 15, hit a terrible putt, passed, made it coming back, perfect iron on 16, 17 down the left side. His shot was right in line with the pin, left it right below the hole, uphill putt, missed the putt. They didn't even show the putt. Just him tapping in there for the par, and then we finally get to see him hit a perfect drive on 18, that beautiful swing down the right center. Iron approach shot a little bit right, but it hit the mound and kicked onto the green for his 69th out of 72 greens. Incredible that he didn't win the tournament by 10 shots. If he'd had Casper, or Nicholas, or any of these other guys putting for him, he probably would have won by 10 or 15 shots. But anyway, it's advanced ball striking. We focus on the ball striking a little bit more than anything, and this is one of the great strikers in the 69 Masters, and hope you enjoyed it.
All right, I think it's time to not crown a new champion, but coat a new champion. Bob Golby, will you do the honors and put the new coat on George?
I'm amazed they have one my size. Thank you, Bob.
I think that's fine.